Well, let's see if we can install this software here as a Conda environment. And let's follow the recipe here. Open a terminal window and maneuver to your home folder. Yeah, that's what I've done over here. I have my terminal window, and if I just run a CD without anything more, I am in my home folder. First, we need to load the Mini Conda 3 software. Okay, so then I just copy this command here and click it in here, so I load Mini Conda. And this is for loading the command called Conda. Otherwise, this is not available. And then we do the installation. And here is actually all we need to do. Yeah, not all, but the first thing we need to do. Copy this one and paste it in here as well. And before I start now, let's just briefly look at what I do here. We use the conda command and create for creating a new environment. And that means basically installing some new software. An environment is actually more than simple software, but for this purpose, we can think of it as the same. The -c and bioconda here is just a way of specifying where do we want to download the software from. And bioconda is one of the channels you can download through. So we take this now from bioconda. There are other channels, but bioconda is, at least for bioinformatics, this is the most commonly used. And then we want to name the environment something, and here you can actually call it whatever you like. The name option, and then the following text becomes the name of this environment. But of course, and finally, the software we want to install. And then, of course, it's not unnatural to give the environment the same name as the software. And that's what I do here. Right? But in some particular cases, it could be a different environmental name because this environment could contain several softwares. And then the name of the environment should be sort of a more sort of general name. And then inside that environment, you can install multiple softwares. But in this particular case, I want one software installed in this environment only, and then I call it with the same name. That's natural, I think. So let's run this and see if it works. And this will, of course, take some time. First, it has to collect some metadata, it says, and this will take some time. So I think we should just now wait and see how this turns out. And of course, if the internet connections and so on is failing, then we have some problems, but then we just restart, I think. Okay, so here we are asked, now the environment has been resolved, and then it says the following new packages will be installed. Let me make the window bigger. Quite a number of packages. And do you want to proceed? Yes or no? And you can see the yes is bracketed, so we can just take a return out. That means yes. So here you are asked if you want to continue. So you have to wait until this question is asked, and then you take a return to yes. Otherwise, if you type N and return no, then it will terminate there. But we will have this to continue. And then it continues loading packages and installing. Okay, and then the installation has finished, the downloading and executing. And it took some time, some minutes at least. And then we can see there is this sort of text here at the end, and this is the same as you find here, I think, in my document, saying something about the database, because this software GTDBK needs a database for classifying the genomes, right? It's for classification of the genomes. And here it says how to do that. You don't need to do this because I have done this already, and it's mentioned here in the text here that I have put this at the folder on Orion already here, right? So please don't install that database because it's too it's quite big. But the last point here you need to do. There is we need to set this variable here called gtdbtk data path as an environment variable, it says. And that is for when you're using the software, it must be told where this database is, where it is found on our system. So that's what we are doing here. So let's go over to the document here and see how to do this. So if you remember, we used the Interpro scan, which is also having a low database that it needs to use. We have also used the Kraken in this module here, and then we sort of specify directly where the database is when we run Kraken. So this is a slightly different way of doing it. And here is exactly the line we need to add. And where do we need to add it? We need to add it into this shell script here. And this should now be found in this folder on your home, right? So let me see if I find this folder here. So I go over here again to, and I'm in my home now, right? My home. So if I look into my home, there should be a folder called .conda. And remember, to see the folders with dot, you need to specify the -A option to see all folders. Yes, here I have a folder called .conda. These are hidden folders, but they are visible if you use the ls and -LA. The L is not really necessary, but I like it because then you have this long format listing, right? And here you can see there's a folder called .conda now. So let's jump into that. .conda. And then we should, in that folder, see another folder called envs for environments. Let's list. Yeah, there's a folder called envs and also one called packages. But this is the one we should focus on. And let's step down to it and see if there is now a folder there called this software that we installed. So if I cd envs here now and run a new ls down there, yes. And here you will now typically get a new folder for each new environment you install by Conda. In this folder, in your .conda/envs folder, right? Under your home. This is where all the Conda environments end up. So now we have one environment here, and if I jump down to this one as well and run a new ls, and here there's a lot of things. So we should go into the folder called etc. Is there an etc? Yeah, here it is. So let's go down to this one as well. And we run a new ls. And then there should be a folder called conda, yes. cd conda without a dot this time. And what's inside here? Yeah, two folders, one called activate.d and deactivate.d. And it's the activate.d we should look into. Activate.d. And here we can see the shell script. This is a shell script, right? Named exactly this. So this is the shell script that we should actually do something to. Let's have a look at the content of it. By cat like this. Okay. I can see that there is already something here. There's already a line here, right? But is this the correct line? No, it doesn't look like to me. So I have to go in here now and edit this one and change it, because I guess this was added by default when I installed the software, but this is not where the database is, right? This is the wrong address. It looked here that it expects the database to be somewhere under my home folder, right? But it's not. So I have to change this now. Okay, so we have this file here in this folder, and we want to now put this line of code inside it. Where is this folder? Here is the full address of it. So let me copy this now by just highlighting this with my mouse. Then I go to my RStudio, and then I paste in the folder here, and then slash gtdbtk.sh. Well, I don't know why it didn't open, but at least here it's open. I typed something wrong, perhaps. Here it's now. Make I just want to mention, if in order to open a folder with a dot in, it's not straightforward in RStudio because you can't see them listed, right? So you just have to type in the full path to it. That's why I did this. I type in the full path here, right? In that window here when you try to open something. You cannot click your way into it because this .conda folder is invisible to RStudio. Okay. You saw how I did it. I just pasted in the full path and then we open the file. Okay, so here is the line of code now that is wrong, right? And I should replace this with this one here. So let me just copy exactly this one. This should be the correct one. Copy. And I'll go back to RStudio. And actually, instead of deleting the old one, I just comment it out with a hashtag like this. And then I add a new line where I paste in what I copied here. This is the correct place for the database. And then I just save and quit here. Save. So then I should have done pretty much all the installation. How do I run this software? Here is how you do it. You type source activate and then the environment name. So let me try. Let me jump back to my home folder here now. And then I type source activate and the name of the environment. So that was this one, right? The name of the environment. And now you can see it has been activated by, you can see it by this name of the environment at the front of the prompt here. And now we can actually run the code. I'm not sure. Let me just try this help and see if that works. And hope the command is called gtdbtk, the same as the environment. It looks like it works because otherwise it would have sort of crashed immediately. Yeah, this works. So here we can get some help. So this command is understandable. And once you are done using this command, you deactivate the environment again. And it's a little bit, you can type source deactivate instead of conda deactivate, as I did there. But it will say it's deprecated, which means it will work for some time, but use conda deactivate instead. Yeah, I think you can use both. I prefer the source deactivate here, even if I see that I wrote conda deactivate here in my document. But this is how we do now. And then you can see down here how we actually use this software for some proper classification. And notice when you're going to run the software, first you have to, of course, load the module mini conda, because otherwise this conda command itself is not understood. Then you have to activate the environment. Then you can use the software in that environment. That's what we do here. And once you are done, you just deactivate this environment again. So this is much like loading a module like we do up here, right? You make it active, and then you can start using it, and then you deactivate it once you are done. Okay,